you have alcohol testing procedures. So you have alcohol testing. The required behind the scene alcohol testing procedures that you need to know and need to expect is when you're doing the alcohol testing, first, it must be conducted by a trained, qualified professional in a private setting. Now, trained or qualified professionals include, but not limited to, a breath alcohol technician, also known as BAT, and a screen testing technician, also known as STT. Now, the breath alcohol technician, or BAT, is the person that helps and assists with the instructed drivers in the alcohol testing process. So they are specifically trained and equipped to operate and use any evidential breath testing device, also known as EBT. Whereas the screen test technician, also known as STT, is a person that helps assist and instruct drivers in the alcohol testing process. Now, they are trained and equipped to operate the use of alcohol screening device, also known as ASD. And remember, the testing devices that are used must be approved by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, also known as NHTSA. Then, as it relates to alcohol testing, your test begins with the verification or identification and required paperwork, meaning the technician, they'll first introduce themselves, they'll ask you for photo identification. So they'll ask for your ID, such as your driver's license or employer issued ID. And then note, don't hesitate to ask the technician for their identification as well, because in fact, feel free to ask if that makes you more comfortable, because that way you'll also know their credentials as well, and it'll help ease the stress or ease the tension as well. Then you'll complete the first part of the alcohol testing form. That'll include your name, your motor carrier's name, and the reason for taking the test. And that could be for pre-employment, it could be for other reasons, but you'll write that in that alcohol testing form. Then you'll need to complete the second part of that form. And that second part of the form will ask you to confirm all the information that you put down. They're going to make sure that all the information is correct and you understand that you're about to be tested. And if you refuse to sign the form, then that means you will fail the test, because this will be understood as considered as refusing to take the test. Meaning, if you even fail to sign the form, by default, that means you failed the test, which also means as refusing to take the test. And that means your motor carrier will also immediately be notified or contacted of that failure if you refuse to take the required test. Then next is a screen test will be conducted. So either a EBT, an evidential breath testing device, or a non-evidential ASD, which is an alcohol screening device, may be used. So after your screening, the technician will actually show you the results on the device and the testing form as well. What you need to know and expect when you are tested is you have the breath testing. If you're being tested using a breath testing or a screening device, that means you must blow forcefully into that mouthpiece of the testing device for about 6 seconds. Then you have saliva testing. So if you are using a saliva test, then a swab will be inserted into your mouth until it is saturated with saliva, meaning until that swab is filled with saliva. And then you have the breath tube. So if you're being tested with a breath tube, then that means you need to blow into that device until its inflation bag fills up with air for approximately 12 seconds. Then if you're reading on the breath or saliva testing device, the reading on that, if that is a 0.02 or greater, then an alcohol confirmation test must be done using an approved EBT. Then the test must be done after 15 minutes have passed, but it got to be within that 30-minute window time of that initial screening test. So if the screening and confirmation tests are not the same, then that means only the confirmation test result will be reported to your motor carrier. Remember, you'll be removed from all safety system functions for at least 24 hours if a confirmed test result, if that fails or falls between 0.02 through 0.04 of the blood alcohol concentration. Now, if your confirmed test result is 0.04 or greater, then you will be removed from all safety sensitive functions or work-related activities until you have completed the return to duty process. And then, of course, you have drug testing. First, you have medical review officer, so MRO. Medical review officer is a licensed physician that is responsible for receiving and reviewing laboratory results. Now, these results are generated by employer drug testing program, and it evaluates medical explanations of certain drug test results as well. It's generated by the employer during the testing program, and it evaluates medical explanations for certain drug test results. So the procedures behind the steps during drug testing are similar to alcohol testing. So you may have privacy for a sample collection when you're doing a drug testing, meaning you'll be given a collection sample in a private facility, whether it's a bathroom or a restroom or a room that meets these security requirements. And the collection site technician will and must be trained in that process and use approved materials and documents. So there are professionals. It must be according to the regulations. Now, you will be given a clean, single-use specimen bottle to collect your sample. This is for drug testing. So this specimen bottle will remain or stay in its protective seal wrapper until that technician unwraps it in front of you in order to make sure that collected sample is not tampered with or contaminated. Now, you use this specimen bottle to actually collect your sample. Now, this will make sure that the specimen, usually it's a urine sample, it will make sure that it's not tainted or contaminated. These are the safety security measures so that way that the test is valid. Now, before you collect your sample, the technician will ask you to provide or give your photo ID, or they'll ask your carrier to positively identify you for security purposes just to make sure that it's you. They'll ask for you to remove your outer clothing, which is your jacket, your hat, your gloves, and etc. They'll ask you to set aside your bag, your briefcase, or purse, and put those belongings to the side. So that way there's no assumption or assume that the test could be contaminated, or making sure that it is secure. Also, they'll ask for you to empty your pockets. They'll ask you to fill out a custody and control form, also known as CCF, and they'll ask you to wash and dry your hands. Then the 7 crucial drug testing procedures to follow, because there are steps, there are procedures that you must know and do and follow when you are being tested, when you're taking a drug test. So step 1, you'll be asked to go into a separate private room and provide a sample. 2, after you provide or give that sample to the technician, then the technician will test the temperature of that sample, and usually it's a urine sample. 3, then the sample will be divided into 2 containers, and both of those containers will be sealed. 4, you'll be asked to observe or be observed, and an identification label is being placed on both containers. Then 5, certify that sample is yours by writing your own initials on the label. So you want to write the initials on your label, cup, or container where your specimen is contained in to show and confirm that it's your specimen. So basically you're signing off on your specimen container. 6, read, complete, and sign the CCF, which is the custody and control form, because you'll be asked or directed to read and complete and sign that CCF or custody and control form. And 7, now the samples will be ready for testing, and you just have to wait for the results. Now the samples are then sent to a certified laboratory for testing. Then the laboratory will test the first sample. If they find any presence of drugs, if they detect any type of drugs, then that means if the test is positive for drugs in that sample, that means they will test a second one just for confirmation, just to confirm. Now, the results test are then forwarded or sent to the medical review officer, which is the MRO. Then, if the test results are positive, altered, or substituted, or invalid for any reason at all, then the MRO, the medical review officer, will investigate those reasons for the result. Now, the MRO will contact you to discuss the results if necessary. Now, the investigation will also include the MRO contact. They'll contact you to talk about these test results. You may be asked about medical reasons for a positive test result. And other reasons will be the call is confidential. So this will give you a chance to discuss the test results with the MRO before your motor carrier is contacted or notified. And you have 72 hours to request that the MRO orders a test of the split specimen by different certified labs. So meaning this can give you the opportunity to independently confirm or reject that initial test result. Now, if the second lab verifies that the initial test result is correct, whether that outcome is positive or negative, that MRO will contact you again and contact your motor carrier to report those results. So whether it's a good result, a bad result, a positive result, a negative result, meaning that if you tested negative or you tested positive, those results will be sent to you. They'll contact you and your motor carrier as well. Hey, BET Trainer here. Listen, if you really had true value out of this video, go ahead and click that like button and share some honest comments about this video, because this is going to help other people as well see the video and get the value information, so that way they can be inspired by what you're doing right now as well. So also, if you want to get the latest updates, go ahead and click the subscribe button, so then you can be able to always be updated on the next instant video that will be put out. So again, go ahead and do that. And this video was sponsored by BET Life Services and CDL for Life.